Have you ever stood at the seafood counter, looking at all those beautiful fillets on ice and thought, this has to be healthy, it's fish? I can't tell you how many of my senior patients have said that to me over the years. They switch from red meat to fish because they want to protect their heart, they want to lower their cholesterol, they want to avoid stroke, memory loss, and the slow decline that so many of their friends are facing. They're trying to do the right thing. And yet, some of those same well-meaning people end up with rising blood pressure, worsening inflammation, even subtle cognitive changes that no one can fully explain. Here's the uncomfortable truth: not all fish is good for you. And after the age of 60, your body simply does not tolerate certain toxins, heavy metals, and inflammatory fats the way it did when you were 30. In fact, there are 3 common types of fish that I regularly advise my older patients to avoid completely, not limit. Not once in a while, avoid. And there are 3 others that I strongly encourage them to eat consistently, because they can support your heart, protect your brain, reduce inflammation, and even help maintain muscle strength as you age. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through both lists, slowly, clearly, no scare tactics. Just calm, honest, medical reasoning based on what I've seen in real life. We'll talk about mercury and why it matters more after 60. We'll talk about hidden contaminants in farmed fish. We'll talk about how certain popular restaurant fish choices can quietly worsen your cardiovascular risk. And I'll explain which fish actually nourish your brain instead of stressing it. And please stay with me until the end, because the third fish you should never touch is the one that surprises almost everyone. It's marketed as premium. It's served in upscale restaurants. And many health-conscious seniors eat it every week thinking they're doing themselves a favor. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert is 72. He came to see me after experiencing mild numbness in his fingers and occasional brain fog. Nothing dramatic, nothing that screamed emergency, but something wasn't right. His labs showed slightly elevated mercury levels. Not poisoning levels, just enough to matter. When I asked about his diet, he proudly said, "I eat fish 4 times a week. My cardiologist told me fish is good." He was right. Fish can be good. But the type he was eating was the problem. As we age, our kidneys filter more slowly. Our liver detoxifies less efficiently. Our brain becomes more sensitive to oxidative stress. So the same exposure that a younger adult might shrug off can quietly accumulate in a 70-year-old body. And this is where seniors need different advice than the general population. Today, I want you to feel confident when you walk into a grocery store. I want you to know exactly which fish support your heart rhythm, which help stabilize your triglycerides, which protect your memory, and which ones may increase inflammation, raise your toxic burden, or stress your cardiovascular system. By the time we finish, you will know which 3 fish to completely avoid after 60, which 3 fish you should aim to include weekly, how to spot misleading labels, and how to protect your brain and heart without giving up seafood entirely. Because this isn't about fear. It's about informed choices. And what you'll hear next may change what you order at your favorite restaurant this weekend. Now let's go a little deeper, and I want you to listen carefully here because this is where most of the confusion comes from. First, we need to talk about mercury. Mercury is a heavy metal. It exists naturally in the environment, but industrial pollution has dramatically increased its presence in our oceans. Small fish absorb tiny amounts. Bigger fish eat those smaller fish. And at every step up the food chain, mercury accumulates. This is called bioaccumulation. By the time you reach large predatory fish, the mercury concentration can be many times higher than in smaller species. For a healthy 30-year-old, occasional exposure might not cause noticeable symptoms. But after 60, your nervous system is more vulnerable. Mercury is neurotoxic. It can affect memory, coordination, mood stability, and even peripheral nerve function. The first fish I strongly advise seniors to avoid is shark. Shark is one of the highest mercury fish on the planet. It's a long-living predator. It accumulates toxins for years, even decades. A single serving can deliver a significant mercury load. For someone in their 70s, that's not a small issue. The second is swordfish. Swordfish is often marketed as a lean, high-protein, healthy steak alternative. It looks clean. It tastes mild. It feels upscale. But medically speaking, it is one of the most concentrated sources of mercury available in seafood. I once had a patient, Margaret, age 68, who ate grilled swordfish every Friday night for heart health. Her cholesterol looked decent. But she complained of worsening tremors and subtle memory lapses. When we tested her mercury levels, they were elevated beyond what I'm comfortable seeing in seniors. Removing swordfish from her diet made a measurable difference over time. Now the third fish that concerns me is king mackerel. Not regular Atlantic mackerel. That's a different story and we'll come back to that later. I'm specifically talking about king mackerel. It's large, it's predatory, and it carries high mercury levels similar to shark and swordfish. Many seniors hear mackerel and assume it's automatically healthy because it contains omega-3 fatty acids. But species matters, size matters, habitat matters. Now let's shift gears slightly, because mercury is only part of the picture. There's another issue that affects seniors even more: inflammation. As we age, chronic low-grade inflammation increases. It's sometimes called inflammaging. This background inflammation is linked to heart disease, arthritis, cognitive decline, and even frailty. Certain farmed fish can worsen this problem. Let's talk about imported farmed tilapia. Tilapia itself is not toxic in the way shark is. The concern is twofold. First, many farmed tilapia are raised in crowded conditions and fed unnatural diets that alter their fat profile. Instead of being rich in anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats, they can be disproportionately higher in omega-6 fats, which may promote inflammation when consumed excessively. Second, depending on the country of origin, farming standards can vary widely. Residues of antibiotics, environmental contaminants, and poor water quality are real concerns in some regions. Now, I'm not saying every piece of tilapia is dangerous. But for seniors trying to reduce cardiovascular risk, it's simply not the best choice available. And here's where a common myth needs to be addressed. Many people believe that all fish lowers cholesterol and protects the heart. That's not entirely accurate. Fish that are high in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, have strong evidence for supporting heart rhythm stability, lowering triglycerides, and reducing inflammation. But fish that are low in omega-3 and high in contaminants do not provide the same benefit. Another myth: if it's grilled, it's automatically healthy. Cooking method does not remove mercury. It does not eliminate persistent organic pollutants. A beautifully grilled swordfish steak is still a mercury-rich steak. So what should seniors actually be eating? Before I answer that, let me emphasize something important. The goal is not to eliminate fish. In fact, when chosen correctly, fish can be one of the most powerful anti-aging foods available. The key is choosing species that are lower on the food chain, shorter-lived, naturally high in omega-3 fats, responsibly sourced. In the next section, I'm going to tell you exactly which 3 fish I encourage my older patients to eat regularly, how often to eat them, and how to prepare them in a way that supports heart health, brain function, and longevity. Because the right fish can truly act like medicine for your aging body. Now let's talk about the good news. Because when fish is chosen wisely, it can become one of the most powerful tools you have to protect your heart, your brain, and even your independence as you age. The first fish I strongly encourage most seniors to include in their weekly routine is wild-caught salmon. Not just any salmon, ideally wild-caught Alaskan salmon. Wild salmon tends to be lower in contaminants compared to some farmed varieties, and it is naturally rich in EPA and DHA, the omega-3 fatty acids that help stabilize heart rhythm and lower triglycerides. I've seen patients reduce elevated triglyceride levels simply by replacing 2 red meat meals per week with salmon. It's not magic, it's biology. omega-3s reduce inflammatory signaling and help improve the flexibility of blood vessels. And here's something many people don't realize. Omega-3 South are also critical for brain cell membrane integrity. That means they help your neurons communicate more efficiently. For seniors concerned about memory, that's not a small detail. The second fish I often recommend is sardines. Now I know what you might be thinking. Sardines? Really? Stay with me. Sardines are small, short-lived fish. That means they accumulate far less mercury than large predators. They're also incredibly rich in omega-3 South, calcium, vitamin D, and protein. For seniors worried about bone density, muscle loss, and inflammation, sardines are almost like a nutritional powerhouse in a small package. I had a 74-year-old patient who struggled with early osteopenia and mild muscle weakness. We increased her protein intake slightly and added sardines twice a week. Over time, her strength improved. Was it only the sardines? Of course not. But they became part of a pattern that supported her body instead of stressing it. The third fish I encourage is Atlantic mackerel. Not king mackerel, but Atlantic mackerel. Atlantic mackerel is smaller, lower in mercury, and rich in omega-3 south. It's flavorful, satisfying, and incredibly heart-supportive when baked or lightly grilled. Many seniors fear fatty fish because they hear the word fat and immediately think cholesterol. But the fat in these fish is not the enemy. In fact, for aging arteries, anti-inflammatory fats can be protective. Now let's talk practical. How often should you eat these fish? For most healthy seniors, 2 to 3 servings of low-mercury, high omega-3 fish per week is a reasonable target. A serving is roughly the size of your palm, about 3 to 4 ounces cooked. And please pay attention to preparation. Deep frying fish in refined vegetable oil cancels many of the benefits. Baking, steaming, poaching, or lightly grilling is preferable. Use olive oil. Add herbs. Keep it simple. Another common mistake I see is relying heavily on restaurant fish dishes. Restaurant portions are often large, heavily salted, and sometimes sourced without transparency. Don't be afraid to ask where the fish comes from. Ask whether it's wild or farmed. That question alone tells the staff you care about your health. Also, variety matters. Even with healthy fish like salmon, rotating between sardines, Atlantic mackerel, and salmon helps diversify nutrient intake and minimize exposure to any one contaminant. Now, a quick word about fish oil supplements. Some seniors ask me, can I just take a pill instead? In certain cases, yes, especially if triglycerides are very high. But whole fish provides protein, minerals, and other nutrients that capsules do not fully replicate. Food first, supplements when medically necessary. And one more thing that is rarely discussed: balance. Fish is healthy, but it is part of a bigger picture. If you're eating salmon twice a week but also consuming highly processed foods daily, the benefit shrinks. Pair your fish with leafy greens, colorful vegetables, whole grains, and adequate hydration. Small, consistent habits matter more than occasional dramatic changes. In the final part, I want to talk to you about something deeper than fish. I want to talk about control, independence, and why the choices you make at the dinner table after 60 are about much more than food. Because what you eat today can influence how steady your hands feel next year, how clearly you think 5 years from now, and how strong your heart beats in the decades ahead. I want you to picture something with me. It's 5 years from now, you're sitting at the table with your family. Maybe your grandchildren are laughing in the background. Maybe you're planning a small trip you've always wanted to take. And you feel steady, clear, present. Your hands aren't trembling when you lift your coffee. Your thoughts don't feel foggy, your energy is stable. Your heart feels strong. That future is not built in one dramatic moment. It's built quietly, meal by meal, choice by choice. When we talk about avoiding shark, swordfish, king mackerel, and being cautious with low-quality farmed fish, this isn't about fear. It's about protecting your nervous system from unnecessary burden. After 60, your body deserves protection, not constant detox work. And when we talk about adding wild-caught salmon, sardines, and Atlantic mackerel, we're not chasing trends. We're giving your brain the fats it needs to communicate. We're giving your heart the nutrients it needs to beat smoothly. We're supporting your muscles so you can stay independent longer. I've practiced medicine long enough to notice a pattern. The seniors who age the strongest are not the ones who obsess over every calorie. They're the ones who make small, consistent, informed decisions. They ask questions, they read labels. They care. They understand that health after 60 is not about restriction, it's about strategy. You don't need a perfect diet. You don't need expensive superfoods. You need awareness. The next time you stand at the seafood counter, you won't just see fish, you'll see knowledge. You'll know which ones accumulate mercury. You'll know which ones calm inflammation. You'll know that species matters, size matters, source matters. And that awareness gives you control. Control over your heart rhythm. Control over your cognitive clarity. Control over how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Let me gently remind you of the key message. Avoid large, long-lived predatory fish that concentrate mercury. Be cautious with poorly sourced farmed varieties. Choose smaller, omega-3 rich fish that support heart and brain health. Prepare them simply. Eat them consistently, not excessively. It's not about eliminating joy from food. It's about choosing wisely so you can continue enjoying life. If this conversation helped you see seafood differently, I encourage you to share it with someone you love. Many seniors are trying to eat healthier but don't realize that fish is not a single category. And if you value clear, honest, medically grounded guidance like this, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps us continue creating content designed specifically for seniors who want to stay strong, sharp, and independent. I would also love to hear from you. Which fish do you usually eat? Has this changed your perspective? Leave a comment below and let's continue this conversation together. Because aging is not about decline. With the right choices, it can be about strength, clarity, and confidence. And sometimes it starts with something as simple as the fish on your plate.